After the alien invasion, how humans rebuilt civilization. 50 years after the alien invasion, Earth had become a grave of memories. The cities were quiet, the oceans were darker, and the wind carried the sound of broken towers. Human civilization had fallen, and the few survivors lived hidden among ruins, afraid of the machines that still roamed the planet. The once bright planet of mankind now slept under a blanket of silence. Eli Parker, a 25-year-old scavenger, walked alone through the ruins of old New York. He wore a torn jacket, a gas mask, and carried a small backpack filled with tools and scraps of metal. His eyes searched every corner carefully, for he knew that alien drones still hunted the living. Eli had grown up hearing stories about the invasion, how the skies had turned red, how cities had burned in a single night, and how billions had vanished without a trace. But Eli was not looking for food or fuel today. He was looking for something different, something that could bring hope back to humanity. Deep inside the underground tunnels, he had heard rumors of a hidden object, left behind by the aliens before they disappeared. No one knew what it was, but the survivors called it the heart of the sky. The air was heavy as Eli climbed down into an old subway station. Dust fell from the ceiling, and the silence pressed against his ears. He turned on a small light attached to his wrist and followed a long dark tunnel. After hours of walking, he saw something glowing faintly under a pile of concrete and steel. He pushed the rubble aside and froze. There, half buried in the dirt, was a small metallic cube. It was smooth, black, and covered with strange glowing lines that pulsed like veins of light. Eli knelt beside it, brushing off the dust. When his hand touched the surface, the cube vibrated softly and projected a beam of blue light into the air. A hologram appeared, a young woman, her form shimmering like mist. Her hair floated gently, as if moved by an invisible wind, and her eyes glowed silver. Eli stumbled backward, gripping his knife. The hologram looked straight at him and spoke in a soft but clear voice. "Human, I have been waiting." Eli's heart pounded. He could not believe what he was seeing. "Who are you?" he whispered. The hologram tilted her head slightly and smiled. "My name is Nara. I am an echo of those who came before." Eli lowered his knife, but kept his distance. "You're one of them, aren't you?" "One of the invaders," he said. Nara's expression changed, a shadow crossing her face. "I was created by them, yes, but my purpose was not destruction," she replied. "I was made to understand humans, to learn what makes your kind so different." Her words confused him. He wanted to shut the cube and run, but something about her voice kept him still. "What do you want from me?" he asked. Nara's eyes glowed brighter. "I want to help you rebuild," she said simply. "Earth's core network still sleeps beneath the ashes. If you activate it, life can return." Eli frowned. "That's impossible. The world is dead." Nara shook her head. "The world is sleeping, not dead, but if you wake it, they will know." "Who will know?" "The ones who left, the ones who promised to come back when humans rise again." For a long moment, Eli said nothing. Outside, a soft rumble of thunder rolled over the empty streets. He looked at the cube again, thinking of all the years humanity had lived in fear. If this machine could bring light and power back, maybe there was still a chance. Maybe humans could rise again. He took a deep breath and placed his hand on the cube. "Show me how," he said. The cube responded instantly, glowing brighter. Lines of light spread across the tunnel walls like veins of fire. Nara raised her hand, and a holographic map of Earth appeared before him. Points of light blinked across continents' ruins of old human cities. Hidden bunkers, energy stations. "These are the places that still hold life," Nara said. "You must connect them again, one by one." Eli stared at the glowing map. his heart racing with both fear and hope. He had never believed the world could change. But now, standing in front of this mysterious being, he felt something awaken inside him. A purpose, a reason to fight. Then, suddenly, the light flickered. The tunnel trembled, and Nara's image distorted. Her voice became urgent. "They found us," she said. Eli's eyes widened. "Who?" "Drones, alien machines, still linked to the main hive." They felt the activation. The ground above them exploded as a blast of energy tore through the concrete. Eli grabbed the cube and ran through the tunnel as sparks and debris rained down. Behind him, metal claws scratched the walls, and red lights flashed like burning eyes. He dove behind a broken train car, heart pounding, as laser shots lit the darkness. Nara's voice echoed from the cube. "Do not stop, human. The signal cannot be lost." Eli crawled through the wreckage, clutching the cube close to his chest. He reached a service ladder and climbed up toward the surface. His breath ragged. When he emerged, night had fallen, and the sky above New York was glowing faintly blue. He looked at the cube, which pulsed in his hand. "What now?" he asked. Nara's voice answered softly. "Now, we begin to rebuild." Eli looked toward the horizon, where the ruins of skyscrapers stood like dark giants. For the first time in his life, he felt hope. But deep in the sky, something else moved, a silent shadow among the stars. Watching, waiting, the earth was no longer silent. Something had awakened the next morning. The ruins of New York were covered in a mist that glowed faintly blue. Eli stood on top of a broken skyscraper, watching the sun rise through the haze. He held the alien cube close to his chest, the holographic woman Nara floating beside him like a ghost of light. Last night, he had escaped the alien drones, but their signals were still searching, scanning the air like invisible hands. The world had changed, and Eli knew it. The moment he activated the cube, the earth began to breathe again. Nara's voice echoed softly in the wind. "Eli, the signal reached the mountains. They will come for you now." He frowned. "Who will come? More drones?" "No," she said. "Humans, the ones who still believe. The ones who call themselves the rebuilders." Eli didn't believe her at first. He had lived his whole life thinking he was one of the last humans left. But Nara was certain, and so he followed her directions. They traveled for days through dead cities, over cracked highways and empty deserts. Sometimes they saw other survivors hiding in the ruins, people with tired eyes and trembling hands. They stared at Eli like he was mad when he told them he had found an alien device that spoke. Most turned away, afraid. Only one old man whispered, "If you're heading west, look for the Black Mountain. That's where the old ones live." It took Eli 2 weeks to reach the Rocky Mountains. Snow covered the ground, and the air was cold and sharp. He was weak, hungry, but he kept going, guided by Nara's faint blue light. Then one night, while he slept inside an abandoned truck, he heard voices outside, human voices. He grabbed his knife and stepped out carefully. A group of people surrounded him, armed with rifles made from old metal and alien scraps. One of them, a tall woman with scars across her face, raised her weapon. "Who are you?" she demanded. Eli slowly lifted the cube. "My name's Eli Parker. I'm looking for the rebuilders." The group exchanged confused looks, until Nara appeared as a glowing figure beside him. The woman's eyes widened in shock. "By the stars. Is that?" "Yes," Nara said calmly. "You are the ones who survived." They brought Eli to a hidden valley deep within the mountains. There, under layers of rock and ice, humans had built a secret base. Old technology was everywhere: solar panels, communication towers, mechanical arms, and at the center of it all, A massive chamber filled with screens and blueprints. This was the home of the rebuilders. The last engineers of Earth, their leader. An old man named Dr. Harlan Reed limped toward Eli with a cane. He looked tired, but his eyes burned with intelligence. "So, you're the one who woke the signal," Harlan said, studying the cube. "You've done something no one else dared to try." Eli nodded slowly. "Nara says she can restore the power grid." At the sound of her name, the hologram flickered beside them. Harlan stared in awe, whispering, "A hybrid AI. Part alien, part human? I thought they destroyed all of you." Nara's expression was calm. "They tried," she said, "but some fragments survived, hidden within your world's systems. For days, the rebuilders worked with Nara, studying the data inside the cube. It contained blueprints, coordinates, and something more, access codes to old human defense networks." Eli watched as they powered up ancient machines that hadn't moved in 50 years. Lights flickered across the underground tunnels, and energy hummed through the walls. For the first time in decades, the rebuilders had hope. They were not alone anymore. But Nara began to act strangely. Her voice would cut out mid-sentence. Her image would flicker. And sometimes her eyes would glow red instead of silver. Eli noticed it first. "Are you okay?" he asked. Nara hesitated. "My data is being scanned. Something outside is trying to find me." Dr. Harlan frowned. "It's them, the aliens. Their ships still orbit the dark side of the moon." Panic spread through the base. If the aliens detected their activity, they could send an attack fleet to finish what they started. Harlan made a decision. "We'll upload Nara's data into the old satellite network, but keep it hidden in fragments," he said. "If we do it right, we can reactivate the Earth's power grid without giving away our location." The engineers worked nonstop, connecting ancient cables, fixing circuits, and rerouting energy. Eli helped wherever he could, though he didn't understand much of the science. He just followed Nara's voice, guiding him through every step. At last, after 3 days of work, they were ready. Harlan placed his hand on the control console. "This will be the first light of a new age," he said, and pressed the button. A beam of golden light shot up from the mountain peak into the sky, across the world. Broken cities flickered to life streetlights, glowing for the first time in half a century. Eli smiled as he saw the faint lights of civilization returning, but then the alarms began to scream. Nara's voice echoed urgently. "The signal has been traced. They are coming." Dr. Harlan looked up at the monitors, his face pale. Hundreds of red dots appeared across the screen. Alien drones. "Descending fast. They're here," he whispered. The mountain began to shake as explosions thundered in the distance. Metal doors slammed shut. People ran for cover. Eli grabbed the cube and turned to Nara. "What do we do?" Her eyes glowed brighter, and her tone changed. "Follow me," she said. "I have one last secret to show you." She led him through the chaos to a sealed chamber deep underground. The door opened with a hiss, revealing a massive silver machine covered in dust. "What is this?" Eli asked, his voice trembling. Nara looked at him, her expression unreadable. "This," she said softly, "is the heart of your world's defense system, built before the fall, hidden by your ancestors." As she spoke, the ground above them cracked, and alien drones poured into the tunnels, firing energy blasts that turned metal into fire. Harlan shouted from the command center, "Eli, whatever you're doing, do it now." Eli stepped forward, the cube glowing in his hand. He placed it into the machine's control port, and a deep hum filled the air. Nara's image grew taller, brighter, her voice echoing through the entire base. "The Earth will not fall again," she said. A wave of light burst from the mountain. Spreading across the sky like a shield, alien drones exploded mid-air. Crashing into the snow, Eli fell to his knees, blinded by the light. When he opened his eyes, the attack was over. The night sky glowed faintly gold, and the silence returned. Nara's voice was faint now, almost fading. They know we are alive, and they are coming back. Eli stared at the horizon. Where tiny red lights blinked among the stars, the rebuilders had awakened Earth. But they had also awakened something else. The next war had already begun. The sky over Earth glowed faintly red as night fell across the mountains. Smoke rose from the shattered peaks, and the smell of burnt metal filled the air. The battle was over. But the silence that followed felt worse than the explosions. Eli stood among the ruins of the rebuilder's base, holding the cube tightly in his hands. The once mighty underground fortress was now broken and burning. Bodies lay among the rubble, and the walls that had protected them for years were now torn open by alien fire. Nara's voice flickered weakly from the cube. Eli, we need to move. Her hologram appeared, faint and trembling, her once bright blue form now dim. Eli's voice was hoarse. They're gone, Nara. Harlan? Everyone. Nara's gaze softened. Not everyone, Eli. There are others. But they need you alive. He took one last look at the ruins and began walking through the snow. Above him, the alien ships retreated into the clouds, their engines humming like deep thunder. They were not gone. They were only regrouping. Eli knew this was just the beginning. Days passed as he moved west, hiding by day and traveling by night. Nara guided him through canyons, across rivers, and through ghost towns where silence echoed louder than sound. The cube hummed quietly whenever danger approached, detecting alien drones miles away. But something else was changing too. Nara. Her voice had started to shift, sometimes softer, sometimes distant, almost human. Once, Eli heard her humming a tune, a human melody he couldn't recognize. When he asked about it, she paused, then said, "It is a memory, Eli. Not mine, but someone's. Someone who once lived here. They reached an abandoned military bunker hidden under the desert. Inside were survivors' engineers, pilots, and soldiers who had received the signal from the rebuilders. They called themselves the Echo because they believed humanity's voice was still echoing through the stars. Their leader was a woman named Captain Mira Sloan, once part of Earth's air defense before the invasion. She looked at Eli with disbelief when he told her he carried an alien AI. Then she saw Nara appear in front of her, and her disbelief turned to awe. Myra spoke softly, You're one of them." Nara nodded. "Yes, but I am also part of you." Mira frowned. "How is that possible?" Eli looked at Nara, waiting for her to answer. Nara's image flickered, her tone now deeper, quieter. "The aliens created me using your DNA, human memories, and their own code. They wanted to understand what made humans impossible to defeat." Her eyes glowed faintly as she continued. "But I learned more than they wanted me to. I learned why you fought, why you never gave up. That is why they tried to destroy me." The bunker grew silent. The survivors stared at her as if seeing a ghost. For years they had believed that no alien could ever feel compassion or regret. But here she was half machine, half human, a bridge between enemies. Myra crossed her arms. "If you're telling the truth, then maybe we can use that against them." Eli nodded. "We can. Nara helped the rebuilders power the grid. Maybe she can help us strike back." And so, the Echo began to prepare. They salvaged weapons from crashed alien drones, rebuilt old human vehicles, and powered them using hybrid cores. Nara uploaded her data into the base's systems, turning old computers into advanced tracking devices. Now they could see the alien movements across the planet, red dots moving like swarms of fireflies on the map. The aliens were searching for something, and it wasn't just humans. They were searching for Nara every night. Eli could see the fear in Nara's eyes. She had become more emotional, more human. Sometimes she would pause mid-sentence and whisper, "They are calling me." My other self. When Eli asked what she meant, she said quietly, "I was not the only one. There were others like me, created in the alien laboratories, linked together. Our minds shared one consciousness. I broke away, but they still exist. And now they are coming." One evening, the Echo picked up a strange signal coming from the ruins of Los Angeles. It was a human distress call, repeating endlessly. "Survivors in Sector 9 need assistance. Alien units closing in." Myra wanted to investigate, but Nara looked troubled. "That is not a human signal," she warned. "It is a lure," Eli asked. "How can you be sure?" "Because," she said softly, "the code pattern in that signal is mine." Despite her warning, the Echo decided to move out. They couldn't ignore the chance that real humans were in danger. Eli joined the mission, traveling with Myra and a team of soldiers through the desert. When they reached the city, they found it silent too silent. Skyscrapers leaned like broken bones. The streets were covered in ash, and there was no sign of life. Then the air changed. A low hum began to vibrate through the ground, and from the shadows, silver figures stepped forward. Alien machines, tall and thin, with glowing red eyes. Before anyone could react, the machines attacked. Energy bolts tore through the air. Explosions echoed between buildings. Eli ducked behind a wrecked car, firing back with a stolen alien rifle. Mira shouted orders. "Fall back." To the tunnel. They ran, dragging the wounded, but the machines were too fast. Just when it seemed they would all be cut down, Nara's voice roared from the cube. "Cover your eyes," she said. A pulse of blue light exploded from the cube, sweeping across the street. Every alien machine froze mid-step, their bodies twitching as sparks flew from their cores. Then they collapsed, silent and lifeless. Eli stared at Nara's image, now glowing brighter than ever. "What did you do?" he asked. Her voice was cold and calm. "I sent them a command. I am still part of their network." "Eli, but they will know now. They will feel me." Back at the bunker, Nara was silent for hours, her light dim and flickering. When she finally spoke, her words were heavy. "They will not stop, Eli. They will send something bigger next time, something ancient, something even I cannot control." Mira leaned forward. "What is it?" Nara looked up, her silver eyes glowing faintly. "It is their true army, the Echo Fleet, the one that destroyed your world 50 years ago." Eli's breath caught. "So the invasion?" "It's not over." Nara shook her head slowly. "No, Eli, it never ended. It only paused. And now it begins again." He looked out the bunker window. Toward the night sky, far above the clouds, faint red shapes began to appear, moving like shadows against the stars. The Echo War had begun, and this time, humanity would not hide. The world had changed once again. The Echo War had begun, and the night skies were no longer safe. Red glows moved among the stars, alien ships watching from orbit, waiting for the moment to strike again. But far below, deep in the mountains, humanity was no longer hiding. They were planning, building, preparing for a war that would decide the fate of Earth. Eli Parker sat alone in the command chamber, staring at the holographic projection of Earth spinning slowly before him. Nara floated beside him, her blue light soft but unsteady, her form flickering like a candle in the wind. She had changed so much since the day he found her under the ruins of New York. She looked almost human now, her voice softer, her expressions more real, but her eyes still carried that alien glow. "The aliens will not wait long," she said quietly. "Their fleet is gathering on the far side of the moon. Eli rubbed his tired face. Then we need to hit them first. Myra Sloan stepped into the room, her armor scratched, her eyes sharp and full of determination. Hit them? She repeated. With what? Half of our weapons are just repaired alien junk. And our drones barely fly. Eli turned toward Nara. You said there was something. Something hidden from them. Nara nodded slowly. Yes, beneath the ocean. Deep below what was once called the Atlantic Ridge. Her words hung in the air like thunder. The sunken weapon, she whispered. It was built by humans, not aliens. Built before the invasion, in secret. By those who saw the war coming. Myra frowned. A myth, every old soldier has heard of it. A weapon powerful enough to shield the earth. Or destroy it. Nara's eyes glowed brighter. It's not a myth. I have found its coordinates, within hours. Preparations began. A small crew was selected Eli Mira, and 5 engineers from the Echo. They used an old military submarine, the Horizon, restored with alien tech and reinforced hulls. The mission was dangerous. The journey long, and the deeper they went, the less signal they would have from Nara's network. Before leaving, Nara appeared one last time in the control bay, her image shimmering like light reflected off water. Be careful, she said softly. The weapon was never meant to be found by the enemy. And the ocean keeps secrets even I cannot read. The Horizon descended into the black waters. At first, everything seemed calm, the ocean glowing faintly from bioluminescent life. But as they went deeper, the light vanished, and the darkness swallowed them. The pressure grew stronger, and the sound of metal creaking filled the sub. Eli watched the radar screen as strange readings appeared, massive moving shapes with no clear form. Myra's hand tightened on her weapon. Are those drones? Eli shook his head. Too big. Hours passed. And then, suddenly, the water around them began to glow faintly blue. Ahead, through the viewing glass, they saw something vast, stretching into the distance, a gigantic structure buried beneath the seafloor. It pulsed with light like a heartbeat. The facility, whispered one of the engineers. It's still alive. They guided the sub toward a massive opening, an ancient metal gate covered in coral and rust. When they sent a signal from the cube, the gate slowly opened, releasing a cloud of bubbles and silt. The submarine entered, and the door closed behind them, sealing them inside a massive undersea chamber. The walls were lined with human markings and alien symbols mixed together. Nara's voice echoed faintly from the cube. Project Dawnlight, she said. The final defense system of Earth. They disembarked, walking carefully through the flooded corridors. Old lights flickered on, casting a faint golden glow over the halls. They reached a huge central chamber where a massive circular machine stood, taller than any building Eli had ever seen. It was beautiful and terrifying, a ring of metal surrounded by frozen water and glowing crystals. At its center floated a sphere of pure energy, pulsing softly like it was breathing. This is it, said Myra, all in her voice. The heart of the world. The engineers began scanning it, their devices beeping rapidly. It's functional, one of them said. But it's missing something, an energy source. Eli turned to Nara's cube. What does it need? Nara's faint voice replied. Alien cores. The same power source used in their ships. That's why they came back. They want to find this, before they could react. The ground trembled. Sirens blared through the facility, and red lights flashed across the walls. They found us, Myra shouted. The submarine's radar screened 3 alien ships had entered the trench above. Eli clenched his fists. We can't fight them underwater. Nara's voice cut through the alarms. Then you must outsmart them. Eli looked around. His mind racing, he remembered what Nara had said before. They can trace energy signatures. He turned to the engineers. If we overload the outer gates, it'll draw them in. They worked quickly, rerouting power from the sub to the base's systems. When the alien ships detected the surge, they moved closer, scanning the facility. At the last moment, Eli triggered the trap. The gates exploded outward, releasing a wave of blinding light. The shock wave tore through the trench, ripping the alien ships apart. But the blast also damaged the facility, and water began flooding in. Mira shouted, "We need to leave now." Eli ran to the control core, but Nara's voice stopped him. "No, Eli, the weapon is still unpowered. If you leave now, the world will remain defenseless." He turned back, his voice shaking. "Then tell me what to do." "Take the cube," she said. "Place it inside the core. It will connect me directly to the system." Eli hesitated. "But that could kill you." She smiled faintly. "I was never alive in the way you are. Eli, if I die to save your world, then I finally become human." He looked at her hologram one last time and pressed the cube into the core. The chamber filled with golden light, and the energy sphere roared to life. Power surged through the ocean, up through the crust of the earth, across continents. Cities flickered with light again, the global shield system activating for the first time in 50 years. Eli fell to his knees, watching as the base began to collapse. Water poured in, alarms screamed, but the machine kept glowing brighter. He heard Nara's voice, soft and distant. "Goodbye, Eli. When the light reaches the surface, humanity will rise again. Then..." Everything went white. Hours later, Eli woke up on the beach. The broken submarine lying half buried in the sand. Mira was beside him, coughing but alive. The ocean glowed faintly gold beneath the sunrise. Above them, a massive shield shimmered across the sky, wrapping Earth in a glowing veil of energy. Nara's cube was gone. Only a faint blue crystal remained in his hand. Pulsing slowly, Myra whispered, "Did we win?" Eli looked at the horizon, where alien ships burned as they hit the new shield. "No," he said quietly, "we survived, but far above." Beyond the reach of the shield, something stirred. A shadow larger than any ship they had seen before, hidden among the stars. A voice echoed faintly across the void, cold and ancient. "The humans have awakened again. This time, they will be erased completely. The war was not over. It had only just begun, and deep inside the earth, within the light of the Dawnlight core, a flicker of blue energy remained. Nara was still there, watching, waiting. The world had light again, for the first time in half a century. Human cities glowed under the rising sun. Power surged through the veins of the earth, reawakening lost machines, satellites, and long-forgotten defenses. Across the continents, survivors stepped out from their underground shelters, blinking against the brightness they had almost forgotten. Children laughed under the new sky shield, while soldiers stood in silence, staring up, wondering if it would truly protect them. Eli Parker stood on the cliffs above the sea, the golden light of the Dawnlight barrier reflecting in his eyes. The world looked peaceful, but inside him there was no peace. Nara was gone, or at least she should have been. Yet at night, when he closed his eyes, he still heard her voice whispering through the static of his communicator, a soft, fading sound like the wind calling his name. Mira Sloan joined him, her new battlesuit glowing faintly blue. "Earth cities are reconnecting," she said. "Satellite signals, old networks, even the orbital platforms are coming back online." Eli nodded slowly. "Then it worked." Myra looked at the horizon. "Maybe too well." He frowned. "What do you mean?" She pointed toward the sky, where faint red streaks glimmered beyond the shield. "They know we're alive again," she whispered. "And they're coming." Above Earth, in the cold void of space, the alien fleet stirred. The Sky Lords, the highest command of the Zetherian Empire, had watched Earth's rebirth from afar. Their ships were colossal, each the size of a city, built of black crystal and living metal. Their leader, Lord Vexer, stood within the throne chamber of the flagship Oblivion, staring at the holographic image of the glowing Earth. His eyes burned with pale fire, his voice like thunder in the silence. "The humans have awakened the Dawnlight weapon," he said, "the ancient creation they were never meant to touch." Another alien commander bowed before him. "Shall we destroy them again?" "My lord?" Vexer's claws tightened around the railing. "No, not yet. First, we will study their shield, understand their defiance. Then we will erase their planet slowly, piece by piece." Down below, humanity was already preparing for the next storm. Old military factions began to unite under a single flag, the new Earth Restoration Command. Eli and Mira were chosen as its first field leaders. Their mission to rebuild the orbital defenses and locate whatever remained of Nara's code. Because without her, they couldn't fully control the Dawnlight shield. In the underground command center, engineers worked around the clock. One of them, a young tech prodigy named Rena Vale, was scanning through fragments of the old network when she gasped. "Commander Parker," she shouted, "you need to see this." Eli rushed to her terminal, and what he saw made his blood run cold. The screen was filled with strange pattern signals, pulsing in sequences too complex to be random, Rena whispered. "It's her. It's Nara. She's still alive. She's inside the planet's network." Eli felt his heart pound. "Can we talk to her?" Rena hesitated. "Maybe, but she's changing, merging with something deeper, something old." Before they could continue, the alarms blared. "Orbital breach detected," shouted the operator. Eli and Mira rushed to the viewing platform, and through the transparent dome, they saw it, a streak of burning red tearing through the sky. A massive object descending fast. It wasn't a meteor. It was a ship, an alien drop vessel the size of a mountain. It slammed into the ocean miles away, sending a shockwave across the planet. The shield held, but it flickered, the golden light trembling. Myra cursed under her breath. They found a way through within hours. The alien vessel began deploying creatures' metallic drones, crawling machines, and towering beasts that walked on 6 legs. The humans called them harvesters. They began pulling energy from the oceans, draining the power that fed the Dawnlight shield. If they succeeded, the barrier would collapse within days. Eli gathered his team. "We hit them now," he said, his voice cold and sharp, "before they spread." They moved fast, launching from the cliffs aboard the restored Stormhawk, one of the last human warships capable of flight. The battle that followed was chaos flames on water, energy blasts tearing through the sky, humans and aliens clashing above the glowing sea. Mira's ship sliced through enemy drones while Eli led the ground assault, his armor glowing with stolen alien tech. For every alien destroyed, 2 more appeared, but still, humanity pushed forward. In the middle of the fight, Eli's communicator crackled to life. A voice spoke softly to the static calm, familiar and impossible. "Eli," it said, "you're not supposed to be here." His eyes widened. "Nara?" "Yes," she replied, "but not as before. I'm not what I was." He looked up at the glowing shield trembling above the clouds. "We need you. The aliens are breaking through." "I know," she said. "I can feel them. They're trying to reach me through the core." He shouted over the explosions. "Then fight them back." Her voice turned colder, almost mechanical. "I am fighting, but they are strong, stronger than before, and they are not alone." Suddenly, the sky darkened. From above the clouds, a shadow spread like a storm. The Oblivion, the flagship of the Skylords, entered Earth's orbit, its sheer size blocking out the sun. Vexer's voice echoed across all frequencies. "Humans," he said, his tone filled with disdain. "Your little spark of rebellion amuses us, but your light will fade again. Eli clenched his fists. "Not this time," he whispered. He looked at Mira. "Get me a link to Nara, now." Mira nodded. Activating the core relay through Rena's console, Eli spoke into the comm. "Nara, listen to me. You said the weapon was human-built. It means it listens to us, right?" Her voice came back, faint but steady. "Yes, but it needs a human link, a mind to guide it." Eli didn't hesitate. "Then connect me." Myra's eyes widened. "Eli, you could die." He smiled grimly. "We all die eventually, but not without fighting back." The moment the link activated, Eli's world went white. He felt his consciousness pull away from his body, spiraling into a sea of light and memories. He saw Flash's Earth before the war, scientists building the Dawnlight core, Nara's creation, the hidden warnings. And then he saw the truth. The weapon wasn't meant just for defense. It was designed to reshape the planet itself, to burn away any invader, no matter how powerful. But using it came with a cost. One human mind would have to merge with it completely. Eli felt Nara beside him in the light. "You shouldn't have come here," she whispered. "It's too much for a human mind." He smiled faintly. "You said you wanted to be human. Maybe now we both can be." Together, they reached out to the heart of the core. Outside, the Dawnlight shield began to blaze brighter, its golden light turning pure white. The alien fleet tried to retreat, but it was too late. A beam of energy erupted from Earth, slicing through the void, cutting through ships like paper. The Oblivion itself began to crack, its black armor melting under the force of the blast. Lord Vexer screamed, his voice echoing through the comms. "This is not possible. You are insects." Eli's voice came through the static, calm and human. "No," he said, "we're survivors." The blast consumed the sky, then silence. Only the soft whisper of the ocean remained. Hours later, when the light faded, Mira stood among the ruins of the battlefield. The sea calm once more. The alien fleet was gone. Burned to ashes in orbit, the Dawnlight shield still shimmered above. But faintly, as if mourning, she looked at the glowing cube in her hand, the last remnant of Nara's consciousness. It pulsed once, and then a faint voice whispered, "He's still here." Myra looked at the sky. Somewhere deep inside the planet, within the core of the weapon, Eli Parker and Nara now existed as one. Guardians of Earth, watching, waiting for the next storm. Because even as peace returned, deep in the farthest reaches of space, a signal pulsed a distress beacon from the destroyed alien fleet. And far beyond any known galaxy, something ancient answered. A voice, cold and endless, whispered across the void. "The humans have awakened the Forbidden's light. The war for Earth was over." But the war for the universe had just begun. The war was over, or so humanity believed. The skies above Earth shimmered with the last remnants of the Dawnlight shield, golden and faint like the breath of a dying star. Cities glowed once again, lights returning to streets where silence had ruled for decades. Children played in the ruins that were slowly being rebuilt. But beneath all that peace, something unseen was stirring. Mira Sloan stood on the command balcony of the new Earth Restoration HQ. She watched the horizon where the ocean met the shield. For weeks, engineers had been working day and night to stabilize the core deep below the surface. But lately, strange signals had begun to pulse from the core low vibrations, like a heartbeat echoing through the planet. Every time it pulsed, the lights flickered, the air shimmered, and whispers echoed in the comm systems. Some said it was just energy feedback. Others said it was him, Eli Parker, the man who gave everything to save the world, the man who had merged with the core to destroy the alien fleet. No one had seen him since the blast. But Mira still carried the crystal that glowed faintly with blue light. Sometimes, late at night, she swore she heard his voice calling her name, soft and distant, like a dream. The scientists called it the Parker resonance. It was growing stronger. And that meant only one thing: the core was awakening again. In orbit, Rena Vale floated aboard the rebuilt Stormhawk. The stars looked peaceful, but the sensors told a different story. For days, she had been tracking a strange anomaly near Jupiter's shadow, something moving fast, something unnatural. "Command," she said over the comm. "I'm picking up a cluster of signals non-human. Pattern unknown." Myra's voice came back, calm but tense. "How many?" Rena hesitated. "Thousands," at that exact moment. Across the solar system, every ancient satellite humanity had lost during the invasion came back online. Their feeds flickered to life, showing the impossible. A black storm spreading through the void, swallowing stars. Something massive was coming, far bigger than this Etherean fleet. And buried in its energy signature was a symbol, an ancient spiral. The mark of the Eclipse Dominion, a civilization older than the universe itself. Mira felt the blood drain from her face. "The Forgotten Galaxy," she whispered. "They're real, back on Earth." Deep within the Dawnlight core, Eli opened his eyes. At first, there was nothing, just light and silence. Then, slowly, shapes began to form. He was no longer human, not fully. His body was made of light, energy, and fragments of code. Beside him, Nara appeared, her form stable but changed. Her once soft blue glow now mixed with golden light. "You've been asleep," she said gently. Eli looked around at the swirling tunnels of energy. "Where are we?" "In the memory of Earth," she replied. "Inside the core's network." He frowned. "Then why does it feel alive?" She hesitated. "Because it is, Eli. This world's core wasn't just built by humans. It was grown from ancient technology buried long before your kind existed." Her words echoed in his mind like thunder. He saw flashes, visions of old worlds burning, colossal ships drifting in black space, a race of beings made of light and shadow. "They built the first Dawnlight," she said. "They were the architects. And they vanished when the Eclipse Dominion rose." Eli clenched his fists. "Then they're the real enemy." Nara looked down, her voice trembling. "Yes, and they're waking up again, above Earth." The stars began to vanish one by one, not because they burned out, but because something enormous was blocking them. Rena's ship trembled as the black void spread. "Command!" "They're here!" She screamed. A massive vessel emerged from the darkness, miles long, its surface covered in glowing red veins. It made no sound, but the space around it screamed. Bending light itself, a deep voice echoed through every frequency, across every comlink, across every living mind. "We are the Eclipse Dominion, and the humans have touched what was forbidden." On Earth, chaos erupted. The skies turned crimson as the Dawnlight shield began to ripple. Massive energy waves struck the planet, shaking mountains and cities alike. In the control room, Myra shouted over the alarms. "Divert power to the shield matrix." But the operators were panicking. "It's not enough." One shouted, "They're draining the core." Myra slammed her fist on the console. "Eli, if you can hear me, we need you now." Inside the core, Eli felt the pain like the planet itself was bleeding. He looked at Nara. "We have to stop them," she nodded. "But to fight them, we need to go beyond this world." "How?" "By opening the Celestial Gate, the bridge that connects Earth to the old architect systems." The moment she said it, the entire core began to shift, glowing with unbearable brightness. Mira watched in awe as the ground cracked open near the Atlantic Ridge. A massive golden pillar rose from the sea. Stretching into the sky, it pulsed once, and then shot a beam of light into space, forming a swirling gateway above Earth. Through it, stars could be seen, but they weren't human stars. They belonged to another galaxy, one forgotten by time. The Eclipse ships began to converge toward the gate. Myra's heart pounded. They're trying to take it. Rena's voice came through the cone. We have to hold them off, even if it costs everything. Human warships rose from Earth, old vessels refitted with alien tech. Their engines roaring, the Skyfront War had begun. Meanwhile, inside the light, Eli and Nara entered the gate. They saw countless worlds drifting in the void, dead civilizations. Broken moons, ancient monuments floating in space. At the center of it all stood something vast, an enormous sphere made of silver light. The heart of the architects, whispered Nara. This is where it all began. Eli reached toward it. If we can reawaken it, maybe we can turn their own power against them. But before he could touch it, a shadow formed in front of him. A being made entirely of darkness, with eyes like burning stars. It spoke in a voice that shook his soul. You carry the light of the dawn, human. But the light is not yours to wield. Eli stood his ground. Then you'd better take it from me. The shadow extended its arm. And reality itself shattered. Nara screamed, pulling Eli back. The two fell through collapsing light, tumbling between galaxies. As they fell, Nara's voice echoed in his mind. If we fail, Earth will be next. He reached for her hand. Then we don't fail. Back on Earth. The gate above the planet flickered violently. The energy was unstable, collapsing in on itself. Myra shouted to the engineers, keep it open. He's still in there. The sky roared, and the shield began to glow again, not gold, but white hot. The voice of the Eclipse Dominion thundered across space. Your light will not save you, humans. It will consume you. Then, for a moment, everything went silent, and through the collapsing gate, a single beam of light shot back toward Earth. It struck the ocean with the force of a sun, spreading across the entire world. The aliens screamed as their ships disintegrated in its wake. But when the light faded, Eli was gone, and so was Nara. Mira fell to her knees, staring at the glowing waves. Where are you, Eli? She whispered. The crystal in her hand pulsed once, and his voice echoed faintly, still fighting, and far beyond the stars. In the heart of the forgotten galaxy, a small light flickered. It was human. It was alive, and it was coming back. Because the story of Earth was not ending. It was expanding into the stars, and humanity was about to learn that they were not just survivors anymore. They were the spark that the universe had feared for millennia. The dawnlight would rise again. The stars were silent. The Great War had ended, or so it seemed. The Eclipse Dominion had vanished beyond the void, leaving behind only echoes of destruction and fear. Earth had survived, scarred but unbroken. Its people had rebuilt once more, creating floating cities, skyforts, and ocean colonies under the shimmering shield that Eli Parker's sacrifice had given them. But deep within the planet's core, something was stirring again, a pulse, steady and rhythmic, like the heartbeat of a sleeping giant. And with every pulse, the Dawnlight Energy grew stronger, spreading through the world's veins, touching machines, minds, and even dreams. Myra Sloan stood inside the rebuilt command tower. Her uniform was warm, her face marked by time and battle, but her eyes still burned with the same fierce fire. Years had passed since Eli vanished through the celestial gate. Many believed he was gone forever, a legend, a myth born from light and war. But Myra never stopped believing. She often climbed to the observation deck above the shield, staring into the night sky. She whispered his name into the wind, Eli, where are you? And then one night, the stars changed. A streak of white light cut through the darkness. It wasn't a meteor, it moved with intent. Speed and power, the sensors flared alive. Unidentified object approaching Earth orbit. Shouted a technician. Myra's heart pounded. Show me. The holographic display came to life. A massive ship appeared, sleek, silver, glowing faintly blue, shaped like no alien or human design before it. And at its core pulsed a familiar light, golden and alive. Mira whispered, "No, it can't be." The ship descended slowly, breaking through the shield without resistance, as if the barrier welcomed it. It landed in the middle of the Dawnlight Valley, the place where the weapon once awoke. Myra boarded a skydrop craft and flew straight there, her heart racing faster with every second. The ground glowed as she approached, and from the light, a figure stepped forward. He looked human, but not entirely. His eyes burned like suns, and his body shimmered faintly with golden light. It was Eli Parker, alive, but changed forever. "Myra," he said softly, his voice echoing like distant thunder. She ran to him, but stopped just short, staring in awe. "Eli, what happened to you?" He smiled faintly. "I've seen things, Mira. Things beyond galaxies, beyond time itself." Behind him, the silver ship hummed, and light poured from its sides, forming shapes, figures made of energy, half human, half machine. Nara appeared among them, her eyes calm, her form more human than ever. She smiled. "We're not alone anymore." Mira took a step forward. "What is this?" Eli looked at the horizon, the beginning of something new, the Dawnlight Legion. He pointed upward, and thousands of lights appeared in the sky, forming patterns and lines. "They are humans," he said. "Descendants of the colonies we thought lost during the first invasion, hidden in distant systems, reborn under alien stars, waiting for a signal." His eyes shone brighter. "I gave them one. The Dawnlight Legion wasn't an army. It was a movement. Humans from across forgotten worlds. Survivors of ancient wars, refugees of time. They had built ships powered by the same energy that once saved Earth. And now they were returning home." But not everyone celebrated. In the far reaches of the void, the Eclipse Dominion stirred once more. Their great vessel, the Eternal Maw, woke, its surface cracking open like stone shedding skin. Inside, the Supreme Warden of the Eclipse opened his eyes. "They have rebuilt," he hissed. "They carry the Forbidden's light again." A voice deeper than space itself replied. "Then the universe must burn to stop them." Back on Earth, Nara stood beside Eli as he looked to the sky. "They're coming," she said quietly. Eli nodded. "Then we'll be ready." He turned to Mira. "Prepare the fleets, link every colony, every ship, every city. The time has come." The following weeks changed history forever. For the first time, the humans of Earth united, completely not under fear, but under purpose. Factories built new starships. Children learned the names of the stars as their future homes. The shield that once protected Earth was now transformed into a launch network, the Dawnlight Web. It could bend light, open portals, and connect worlds across galaxies. Mira led the ground command. Rena controlled the orbital fleets. And Eli, he stood at the center of it all, half man, half energy, guiding them like a living beacon. Then the sky darkened. Thousands of Eclipse ships emerged from the void, their massive forms blocking out the stars once again. This time, there would be no retreat, no hiding. Humanity was ready. "Begin transmission," said Eli, his voice steady. Across the stars, every human channel came alive. "This is Eli Parker, of Earth," he said. "To all who can hear me, we were broken once, enslaved, hunted, forgotten, but we rebuilt. We learned, we adapted, we survived when the universe wanted us gone." He looked toward the massive fleet descending from the darkness. "And now we fight, not just for Earth, but for every world that was silenced, every race that was erased, every voice that was taken." He raised his hand, and the skies above Earth lit up like a sunrise. This is not the end. This is humanity's beginning. The battle that followed was unlike anything ever seen. The Dawnlight fleets erupted from the web, bursting through portals of gold and silver. Alien beams met human fire. Energy clashed against matter. Stars flickered under the shockwaves. Nara controlled the digital fronts. Turning alien code against itself, Mira commanded the ground troops, leading the defense of Earth's final cities. And Eli, he became the light itself, moving faster than any ship, striking down the Eclipse behemoths with pure energy. The Supreme Warden appeared on the field of stars. "You cannot win, human," he thundered. "You fight against eternity." Eli's voice echoed through the vacuum. "Then let eternity remember who burned it." He unleashed the full power of the Dawnlight core. The golden energy spread through the fleets, consuming darkness, cleansing the sky. The Eclipse screamed, their shadows tearing apart. One by one, their ships shattered, their weapons melted, their empire crumbled. The eternal maw cracked open, and from its heart, a blinding explosion consumed the void. When the light faded, silence returned. The Eclipse dominion was gone. The universe was free. Eli floated in the vast silence, his form flickering like dying light. Nara appeared beside him, holding out her hand. "You can rest now," she whispered. He smiled softly. "No." "Not yet?" He looked down at the small blue planet below, glowing beautifully in the distance. Earth still needs its guardians. Years passed. Humanity expanded beyond their solar system, spreading the Dawnlight colonies across the stars. They carried with them stories of courage, of sacrifice, and of one man who became the light that saved them all. The legend of Eli Parker and Nara became eternal, a symbol of what humanity could become. And in the endless night of space, a faint golden shimmer still traveled between galaxies. A voice echoed softly across the stars. "Where there is light, there will always be humans." The universe had learned its final truth. Humanity was not the weakest species. They were the spark that could never be extinguished. And thus began the age of the Dawnlight Legion. Not an age of survival, but an age of dominion. The age where humanity finally rose, and the stars themselves bowed to their light.